Christ said to pick up your cross and follow me. I've been thinking about that a lot recently, and specifically how that ties into a person's fitness journey. It's no secret that exerting yourself through regular exercise is tough, and that the discipline and self-control needed to consistently eat healthy can be a challenge too. Through the coaching work that I do, I try to make the healthy eating and exercise process that my clients go through as easy as it can possibly be for them. But even so, at least to some level, there's some unavoidable difficulty that will inevitably come with it all. I've definitely found that to be true for my own fitness journey too. As a natural bodybuilder, my goals are to develop my body as best as I possibly can for the purposes of doing well in competition. The training and dieting that comes with that is inevitably tough, and at times it's pretty grueling. This has especially been true for me lately, which is probably a big part in why I've been thinking a lot about what Christ said. Pick up your cross and follow me. It's been something that's been having a big positive impact on me and my fitness journey, and I want to elaborate on that a little bit with you now. And hopefully in doing so, it might help you out a little bit too. Okay, think of the 5 sorrowful mysteries. The agony at the Garden of Gethsemane, the scourging at the pillar, the placement of the crown of thorns, the carrying of the cross up to Calvary, and the crucifixion itself. The pain and suffering that Christ felt would have been unimaginable. I think it's something we don't think deeply enough about or often enough, or at least I'll speak for myself in saying that's probably the case for me. But when you take a step back and you really think about it and take it all in, it's really jaw-dropping. The sweating of blood that Christ experienced at the Garden of Gethsemane is a real phenomenon that happens upon experiencing incredible stress. Imagine just how severe his stress would have been for him to experience that. Wow. There's this scourging at the pillar by the Roman flagrum, which is a torture tool, kind of like a whip with multiple ends, I believe 3 or more ends. And at the base of those ends, there's a metal object like a lead dumbbell that's meant to stick to the skin and cause all sorts of damage upon the scourging. So you can imagine the kind of pain that would have come with that would have been beyond most of our worst nightmares. Wearing the crown of thorns would have been indescribably painful too, worse than most people would think. From my understanding, the crown wasn't so much of a crown as it was a helmet. It actually covered the whole head. It wasn't just a circlet. And the piercing of the thorns on his head would have come with a practically unbearable amount of pain. There's actually a word for what he would have experienced with the thorns piercing through the nerves on his head, trigeminal neuralgia. I think I'm pronouncing that right, which would have been absolutely agonizing. In fact, it probably is one of the worst pains that a human can experience. With all of the pain and suffering that he had already experienced up to that point, he was forced to carry the beam of his cross up a hill, up a mountain. From more of the research that I've been doing, I actually learned that it was unique for a person to experience both scourging and crucifixion. It was something that Jesus uniquely experienced. See, the 2 types of punishment and torture wouldn't have been commonly sentenced to the same person because the scourging itself would have been so painful and debilitating that a person wouldn't have been able to make it through the crucifixion process. But Christ was made to endure both, as if one wasn't horrible enough. As he carried his cross, he fell 3 times, which evidence suggests would have been more than because it was a heavy beam to carry, but because of the pain and suffering that he was already experiencing. And of course, he felt even greater pain and suffering upon falling with the cross on his back, like experiencing a dislocated shoulder. There's evidence for all of this happening too, like what's shown from the extensive research that's been done on the Shroud of Turin. You know, when you really think about all this, it really is unbelievable. This happened to Jesus Christ, the Son of the living God. This is our God who is powerful beyond comprehension. He's omnipotent, omniscient, and he's the creator of the entire universe, something that we can not really wrap our heads around fully. He became man and voluntarily accepted the most painful and humiliating death imaginable. Me talking about it now doesn't even really scratch the surface of the gravity of it all. As Catholics, we know he did it because he loves us just that much. I think now of the kind of pain that Christ went through for us, and man, that really puts things into a different kind of perspective. Anyways, let's get into the fitness part of all of this. We exercise and eat healthy to get fit or to maintain our fitness. Fitness meaning to be in good health and strength. As I earlier mentioned, regular exercise and having the discipline to consistently eat healthy can be tough. I'll share a bit of my own personal current context. As of now, I've just finished what's called my pre-prep diet, which is a phase in my natural bodybuilding competition timeline. The last 3 weeks of my diet, and the entire diet was 18 weeks long in total, have been pretty tough. I've been hungry for a good portion of each day, and my training sessions have been especially difficult with my diet affecting my energy and strength levels. In essence, I've been experiencing an element of suffering. Nothing remotely close to what Christ experienced, but a little bit of suffering nonetheless. But Christ said, "Pick up your cross and follow me." I don't know about you, but what I've come to believe is that when considering that command, it suggests that in following Christ, we're going to experience some suffering. That's a bit of a phenomenon in itself, isn't it? It's counterintuitive to what we as humans desire. We don't like the feeling of suffering. On a side note, I think this is especially true in this day and age, with the secular culture really encouraging that we do what feels good, or we follow whatever our own personal subjective truth is. I'll be honest and say that I was wrapped up in that world, at least to some extent, before I reverted back into Catholicism. So I've got an understanding of that, and it's really not good. Anyways, as time goes on, I'm learning more and more deeply that suffering is actually a gift. How? Well, it's a means of becoming closer to Christ. It's kind of like a way of participating in the crucifixion, of being with him, or even suffering with him. I think about the lives of the saints who voluntarily accepted their suffering. Saint Faustina comes to mind more and more frequently for me as someone who experienced incredible suffering in her life. But instead of asking God to relieve her of that suffering or to take it away, she accepted it willingly and offered it up to Christ. As I've been experiencing my own degree of suffering from my diet and my exercise sessions, I've been thinking more and more about Christ's command to pick up your cross and follow him. And honestly, it makes me feel excited to accept and embrace the suffering that's involved in the process. Again, knowing that it is only a minuscule fraction of the amount that Christ would have experienced. It's kind of like I'm been given the opportunity or the gift to grow closer to him throughout the process. So yes, my personal natural bodybuilding journey is leading me to accomplish my material goal of developing my physique to do well in competition. But in picking up my cross and following Christ and experiencing suffering throughout this process, it's also helping me to reach a supernatural end as well, which is growing closer with Christ. Ultimately, for me personally, I've really come to realize that that is by far the most important part of this whole natural bodybuilding fitness journey. I haven't always had that understanding though, particularly before my reversion back into Catholicism. I'll tell you that full story in another video. Again, I've been really thinking about this a lot lately, and I'm really excited to be sharing my thoughts with you now. The command to pick up my own cross and follow Christ kind of throughout this fitness journey has really helped me to find so much meaning throughout the process, showing me and allowing me to feel and experience that it's about so much more than just a material outcome. And I hope that in sharing my thoughts with you, if you're someone that's been struggling with the discomfort of your own fitness journey, or if you've been held back to start your fitness journey because of the prospect of experiencing some future discomfort on your fitness journey, that it might be helpful for you a bit, the same way it's been helpful for me. I've just got one more quick thought that I want to share with you. I recently heard something that really stuck with me from one of the lectures of Father Chris Allar. He mentioned that Saint Faustina wrote that if the angels were envious of humans, they would be envious of two things. One would be our ability to receive Holy Communion, and two, it would be our ability to suffer. Crazy. Why suffer? Because it's ultimately a gift from God that allows us to receive his grace and to become closer with him. It's just that special. So bring on that cross. If you enjoyed this video, or by the grace of God, if you found it helpful, please consider hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. It really helps me out. And please feel free to share any of your thoughts or feedback in the comments section as well. Thank you so much for watching. God bless, and I'll see you in the next video.